We got to talk about what's next. You guys are going to start doing some fun stuff on TV, but maybe it's a little comedy, and I think that's interesting because we started with some comedic elements of him switching the trophy out that Kurt Angle was giving you, but it does feel like once it goes to blood, like it did on the pay-per-view, it's hard to walk it back. But when he steals your hat, this is fun stuff. What can you tell us about that segment?
I had a stunt hat and I had a stunt suit because of wrestling Eddie so much. And something always happened to me. So he steals my hat. I fill it up with stuff all around the ring and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Eddie was so entertaining. He was, like I say, it's hard to have both. You talk about people that can create drama and you talk about people that can have these incredible, the catchphrase 5-star matches. Eddie was one of those few guys that could do both. And Eddie was so good at the drama and the storytelling. And it was so fun to be out there with him because you had no idea what he was going to do. And he didn't care what you did because he knew he could play off of it. It was a lot of fun being out there with him.
Let's talk about the next match that you guys are going to be heading to. It's the Bullrope match. And we've talked about this recently with Bruce this past summer. It's 21 minutes and 6 seconds. The rules are you've got to touch all 4 corners, and they've got lights, and they've got different color for each guy. And when you touch a corner, well, there's a new touch and there's the light. There's not going to be any pinfalls or submissions. And as Bruce says, he actually picked up the phone and gave a call to Dusty Rhodes to help with this finish. What do you remember about this Bullrope match with Eddie Guerrero?
I remember I saw your thing with Bruce about how Bruce hated the lights. I think that was my idea because Otto Vance had done that because Otto Vance was worried about explaining a Bullrope match to the German people that had never seen it before. And I said, this might help us. And so I certainly got blamed for it from Bruce. I thought it helped. I don't know. I don't know if you needed it or not, but going into the match, I'd had a lot of Bullrope matches. Bullrope matches are hard. There's not that much you can do. You're tied together. You got to go a certain way in and out of the rope, in and out of the ring. It can be very tough unless you got a guy like Eddie. The old matches where you'd have 2 guys tied together, me and Black Bart, and just sit there and hit each other with a bunch of stuff and juice a bunch. That's what we used to do. Eddie was completely different. I was very excited to have this Bullrope match. The finish that Bruce had, I don't know if it worked. I don't know if I could. Bruce wanted to cut the rope, which is something I think Dusty had done, cut the rope and me win by that. I had done this finish before, so I knew it very well. I'd had, good Lord, I don't know how many Bullrope matches. And Vince didn't like the finish, apparently. And so he said, call Dusty. And so Dusty was working for TNA, I think, or Impact, something. Anyway, he's working for a different company. And Dusty was out doing a shoot, and Dusty gave us the finish. So, yeah, that was 100% Dusty finish. I thought it worked out great.
That day, you guys are not going on last. It's for the world title. You're going to win the world title. But after that is when we see the Dudleys versus the Undertaker with Paul Bearer in a concrete crypt. One of the most wrestle crap moments in the history of WWE. And I think they probably felt like when they saw it on paper, hey, we just did this with John and Eddie. We got to close with something else. Undertaker's this big established star for decades at this point. We'll put them on last. Had they known now what they knew then, they certainly would have closed with you guys. Did you go out there with a chip on your shoulder like, okay, Undertaker, follow this?
Yeah, 100%. All of us did. You go for the championship and you think, I'm going to give him something. Not against Undertaker. Undertaker did it, when I was on last for the championship, he'd always give us something we couldn't follow. And so guys always did that. Follow this. You want to follow this, better get a pine box, as the Killer used to say. I'm talking about Jerry Lee Lewis. Guys used to always say stuff like that. Nobody knew how bad the stunt guy was that played Paul Bearer. He said he could hold his breath for like 4 minutes, and he got in the concrete mesh and wanted out like in 10 seconds or something. It was absolutely horrible, but nobody knew it would be.
The finish is interesting because it looks like Eddie has won. Of course, you've touched 3 corners. Eddie's touched 3 corners. He's going to leapfrog you to touch the 4th corner. Angle's going to come out and reverse it, though, and say, no, actually, you touched it first. And when the fans realize that you lost the title, Eddie gets a big reaction out of appreciation. But now you're the champ at Great American Bash 2004. It got 3.25 stars in the Observer, and this is what was written. The title change to JBL was a relatively recent decision. It was McMahon's decision as much to get the belt off Guerrero as there was a feeling it was time for a heel champion to be chased. While Guerrero is far more popular than JBL amongst most of the wrestlers, the reaction we got was negative to the decision. From a box office standpoint, it really didn't matter at this point. JBL's character has been brought on strongly by McMahon from the start. Michael Hayes and Bruce Prichard were also said to be strong advocates of JBL as champion. When do you find out, hey man, last month was your first pay-per-view, but in your second one, you're the big dog now. You're winning the big belt. Do you find out that day or ahead of time?
No, I found out. I don't remember the exact day I found out. I remember the day Vince decided it was in Chicago. And I'd come out, I'd just been fired from CNBC, and Vince tried to get me to keep my job. He, told him so many different things. Vince couldn't get it done. They were a corporate business, and they ended up firing me. And so when I come out, they'd have JBL got fired signs. I want to actually have a JBL got fired shirt. I actually asked Vince if he'd put that out, and he thought it wouldn't last long enough. That people were saying that the shirt would be, a big enough seller, because he thought it'd blow over too quick. Yeah. So I go out in Chicago, and this is the first time I've addressed the crowd. And Vince calls me into his office. He goes, "What are you going to say?" And I gave him an idea. Vince didn't give me any feedback whatsoever as far as change this or change that. He didn't want me to pick up my phone and tell the head of CNBC to call me. You didn't even have the guts to call me. I did it, which I didn't mean to disobey him. It happened when I'm out there doing the promo. I just pulled the phone out. Thought, shit, I've got it out now. I got to say it. Sounds crazy, but it wasn't a disobedience to Vince. It was, but it wasn't planned. And anyway, Vince was standing backstage and watched me, and I swore I'd never apologize for anything I did, especially as a heel. I'm not going to come out and beg your approval and say, "Oh, that was a storyline." Give me a freaking break. I'm either a heel or not. It's either a work or it isn't. That's what people don't understand. They say, "Oh, that's over the line. It's crass." How about people cutting off people's heads in Walking Dead or Games of Thrones? That's pretty over the line too. It's either a work or it isn't. I went out there and cut this promo that was from the heart, that told people I'm not apologizing. I said the line, I said, calling me anything but a great American is like calling Mother Teresa a prostitute. And when I walked out, Vince told the person who's standing back, he goes, "Do I need to put the title on him?" And the person next to him said, "Yes, you think?" And so from that point forward, Vince had it changed. It put in Vince's mind, they're going to put the title on me. And I don't know when exactly he told me, but that was, you can look it up on I'm sure the internet has it, how far advanced that was. But right after that, Vince told me he's putting the title on me.
It's fascinating to think about how this is going to, in a weird way, you were there just to, be a big heel for Eddie. You're there to enhance Eddie's run. And after 2 matches, hey, it's your turn with the title. Do you remember having a conversation with Eddie? Was he disappointed? Did he feel like he had failed as champion when they're taking the belt off of him, or what was his reaction? No, Eddie was so happy. And this is crazy to say. His dream is being a champion. And he gave me the storyline that took the title off him. That's unbelievable what he did for me. I mean, because he made me succeed to the level that they took the title off of him and put it on me. And he was fine with it. He was not only fine with that, he was happy with that. He kept telling me, he said, "Essay, you're going to be great. You're going to be wonderful. I'm going to continue to help you." Eddie used to call me all times of day and night and give me ideas for storylines. He called me one night. He goes, "Essay, I got something for you. Tell them my ancestors come over here in a boat, not an inner tube." I just started laughing. "Eddie, you're going to get me killed." He goes, "No, I say good heat, good heat, good heat." He'd always say good heat. I say good heat. Eddie used to give me ideas all the time. It was remarkable. He was the most selfless guy that I've ever been around. And he was genuinely happy. I can't judge his heart, but he was genuinely happy for me getting the title from him, which took his dream away and put it on me. Not that, your dream ends with that. I think he would have ended up getting it back if he had lived. Which is unfortunate, because I wish he would have had a second run, because I think he would have even been better. But Eddie was very happy about it.